Some conflicts, they just feel like they've been going on forever, right? To get to the heart of one of the most enduring, we've actually got to go way, way back, to the beginning, to a story about just one family. So let's get into it.
So why does it feel so ancient, so deep? It's a question a lot of us have asked. It seems like it's beyond politics, beyond just time. Well, the answer isn't in today's headlines, that's for sure. We've got to rewind. A lot. Like almost 4,000 years. Back to a story that all kicks off with one single promise made to one man.
And that man? His name is Abraham. Our whole story really starts right here, with him, and this impossible promise from God. A promise that honestly seemed like it could never happen. And this is the moment right here where the futures of two entire peoples begin to form.
Okay, so what's absolutely fascinating about Abraham is that he's not just some character in one story. He is foundational to three of the world's biggest religions. We're talking Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They all trace their spiritual roots right back to this one guy. So you'd think he'd be this huge point of unity, right? But here's the twist. It's inside his own family that we find the very seeds of this massive historical division.
So what was this promise? Well, God tells him, "You will be the father of a great nation." We're not just talking about having a kid here. We're talking a great nation. And get this, through you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. I mean, wow, that's an unbelievable destiny to put on the shoulders of one man and his wife, Sarah. But there was one massive problem.
They couldn't have kids. And they weren't exactly spring chickens, you know? Just try to imagine that for a second. You get this incredible promise, and then you wait. And wait. A year goes by. Then a decade, then another. And you're just holding on to this promise that seems more and more impossible with every passing day. The weight of that, the hope that's just fading away. It's just so incredibly human.
So, faced with this impossible situation, they did what a lot of us might do. They took matters into their own hands. And that human solution, followed by an honest-to-goodness miracle from God, ends up giving them two sons. Two sons whose lives are going to go down two very different roads.
Here's what happened. Sarah comes up with a plan. Now, it sounds kind of strange to us today, but back then it was pretty common. She says, okay, have a child with my servant, Hagar. And they do. That son's name is Ishmael. And for a long, long time, he was it. He was Abraham's only son, the heir, loved and raised to inherit everything.
But then, the thing that seemed impossible, it happened. When Abraham and Sarah were, really old, she has a baby, a son. They name him Isaac. And his name literally means laughter, because let's be honest, the whole idea was so crazy it was laughable. And this one miracle, well, it changed absolutely everything. Okay, so this is the absolute turning point. Abraham now has two sons. You've got Ishmael, the firstborn, son of Hagar, and then you have Isaac, the miracle baby, the promised child, son of Sarah. The tension in the family, as you can imagine, just goes through the roof. It gets so bad that Ishmael and his mother Hagar are sent away, out into the wilderness. So Isaac, he's the one who inherits the covenant. He becomes the father of Israel. And Ishmael, he becomes the father of the Arab tribes. Do you see what happened? A family drama just became the blueprint for a conflict that would span millennia.
But wait, because the story doesn't just end there with division. It's not only a story of conflict. If you look closely at the text, you see something else. You see that even though they were separated, there was still blessing. And there was even this little glimmer, a glimmer of hope for reconciliation.
And this part is so important. God didn't just forget about Ishmael. No way. In fact, his name, Ishmael, literally means God hears. It's like a permanent reminder that God heard his mom Hagar crying out there in the desert. And God makes a promise to him too. He tells them that Ishmael will also become the father of a great nation. Both sons, both were blessed.
And then there's this one scene. It's so powerful, and a lot of people just read right past it. Years later, after everything that happened, when their father Abraham dies, his two sons, Isaac and Ishmael, they come together. They stand shoulder to shoulder and bury their father. Just for a moment, all the rivalry, all the history, it's gone. They're just two brothers. They're just family. It's this beautiful little sign that reconciliation was never impossible.
Okay, now we're going to fast forward. A lot. We're jumping thousands of years into the future because the story takes this really dramatic turn. A new message comes along that offers a totally different kind of hope. This isn't about politics or land. It's a spiritual solution, and it's aimed right at the heart of all this hostility.
So the Apostle Paul starts talking about this thing he calls the dividing wall of hostility. It's a great metaphor, right? He's talking about all those barriers that separate people, race, nationality, who your great-great-grandfather was. And he says that through Jesus, that wall gets torn down, that God is building a whole new kind of family, one that's not about your bloodline, but about your faith. And in this new family, absolutely everyone is welcome.
And this whole idea is built on a teaching from Jesus that was, it was completely radical. Just think about it for a second. How does most human conflict work? It runs on revenge, right? An eye for an eye. You hit me, I hit you back harder. But then Jesus comes along and says, love your enemies? Whoa, that's not just a small suggestion. It's a direct attack on that whole endless destructive cycle of payback.
So what does that even look like? How do you do that? Well, it comes down to a choice, a really hard choice. It's choosing forgiveness when every fiber of your being wants to hate. It's choosing peace when everyone around you is screaming for revenge. And it's choosing love when fear is trying to run the show. The core idea here is that any real, lasting peace can't be forced from the outside. It has to start inside, in the human heart.
Which kind of brings us right back to where we started. And it leaves us with this one big question. This whole epic story, spanning thousands of years, full of conflict, full of promise. It all started in the hearts of one family, right? With Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, and Isaac. So if the conflict began in the human heart, maybe, just maybe, that's also where the peace has to begin too.